This is your Unit 9.5 Global History exam, multiple choice section. So for questions 1 and 2, you're going to be using this passage below. And I look at the source and I see it's written by Larry W. Mays. It's about irrigation systems, ancient, water encyclopedia, adapted. So it's an encyclopedia entry. It says the first efforts to control the flow of water were made in Mesopotamia and Egypt, where the remains of the prehistoric irrigation works still exist. In ancient Egypt, the construction of canals was a major endeavor of the pharaohs and their servants beginning in Scorpio's time. One of the first duties of the provincial governors was the digging and repair of canals, which were used to flood large tracts of land while the Nile was flowing high. The land was checkerboarded with small basins defined by a system of dikes. Problems regarding the uncertainty of the flow of the Nile were recognized. During very high flows, the dikes were washed away and villages flooded, drowning thousands. During low flows, the land did not receive water and no crops could grow. In many places where fields were too high to receive water from the canals, water was drawn from the canals or the Nile directly by a sweep or a shadoof. These consisted of a bucket on the end of a cord that hung from a long end of a pivoted broom, counterweighted at the short end. The building of canals continued in Egypt throughout the centuries. So question number 1 asks, why did ancient Egyptians build canals, systems of dikes, and tools like sweeps and shadoofs? 1, because Egyptians believed the god of the Nile needed to be contained within the river's banks. 2, Egyptian farmers needed to flood their fields because they believed that crops grew best underwater. 3, pharaohs wanted water diverted to their royal baths. Or 4, the Nile River's water levels were difficult to predict, and the water was needed to grow food. Number 2. What effect did the water control methods described in the passage have on ancient Egypt if they worked properly? 1. Priests performed mummification ceremonies with more frequency. 2. Crop yields increased and floods were controlled. 3. There were fewer slave riots. 4. Trade in fish from the Nile increased between Egypt and civilizations in Mesopotamia. Questions 3 and 4 are based on this diagram below. So you have a pyramid, and it says Brahmins, priests on top, Kshatriyas, or warriors, Vaisyas, or herders, farmers, merchants, and craftspeople. And then on the bottom you have Sudras, that's farm workers, servants, laborers. So what statement is best supported by the information in this diagram? 1. The Gupta emperors did not support the caste system. 2. Buddhists followed the caste system to provide order in their community. 3. The caste system enabled Hindus to choose where they lived. 4. The caste system determined what occupations one could have. Number 4. Identify one effect of the caste system had on Hindus during the Gupta Empire. 1. Hindus followed their caste duty to be reincarnated into a higher caste. 2. Hindu missionaries were sent throughout Asia and the Middle East to spread the religion. 3. Hindus followed Siddhartha Gautama's teachings to guide their lives. 4. Hindus believed that no matter what they did, they would be reborn in the same caste in the next life. That was one effect the caste system had on Hindus. For questions 5 through 7, you have this diagram here, and it says everyone had duties and responsibilities depending on his or her position in a relationship. So you have the superior and the inferior, and under the superior you have ruler, husband, father, elder, brother, and it says that they take care of and set good example for inferior, subject, wife, son, brother, or son or younger brother, and then it says that that group, the inferior, owes loyalty and obedience to the superior. Number 5, This illustration shows the relationship between individuals in a society according to the ideas of 1. Confucius, 2. Moses, 3. Muhammad, 4. Siddhartha Gautama. So whose ideas were these? Number 6. During the Han Dynasty, Confucianism was named the official philosophy of the Chinese government because 1. The caste system benefited the rulers, 2. Confucius founded the dynasty, 3. The Han Dynasty was democratically elected, or 4. It provided a way to bring order to society. Why was Confucianism named the official philosophy of the Chinese government? Number 7. One effect of the decision to make Confucianism the ruling philosophy of the Han Dynasty was that 1. Confucian scholars became the wealthiest people in society. 2. Confucian writings and philosophy were taught in schools. 3. Confucianism spread to the Middle East. 4. Confucian scholars rebelled against the government. Okay, so base your answers to questions 8 through 10 on the map below and your knowledge of social studies. So it says the Eurasian and African world system in the 15th century. So you have main maritime routes are the dark lines. So that's main routes traveled by water. You have cores of the system. So that's kind of like big trade areas, where things are coming in and out of. You have towns with their relative size. The small dots are small towns, big dots are big towns. Ugh. And then you have main overland routes. This is how people are traveling over the land. So identify the best use of this map for a historian. So what can they tell directly off of this map? 1. To examine the geographic context of the early river valley civilizations. 2. To trace the path that Christian missionaries took to spread their religion. 3. To explore what routes traders took to travel from Timbuktu to Cairo. Or 4. To examine how Alexander the Great conquered his empire. What was the best use of this map for a historian? Number 9, which of the following claims is best supported by the map? You can use the information on the map to support this claim. 1. Trade routes did not exist in the Sahara Desert. 2. Gao in West Africa was a busy seaport. 3. Cairo benefited from trade because of its location. 4. Most trade in Southeast Asia took place over land. Which one is shown on this map? And number 10, identify an effect of the historical circumstances depicted in the map above. 1. War broke out between the people of West Africa and India. 2. Goods and ideas from East Asia influenced people in the Middle East. 3. Istanbul was isolated from the rest of the world. 4. Moscow became the most important trade center in the post-classical world. So numbers 10 through 12 are based on this artwork below. So we've got a castle in the background, and then you have people who are working the fields in the foreground. So number 11 asks, which economic system is most closely associated with the activities shown in this artwork? Is that 1, manorialism, 2, capitalism, 3, communism, or 4, socialism? Which economic system is shown here? Number 12. With which historical setting is this artwork most closely associated? Is this 1. Japan during the Tokugawa shogunate, 2. The Middle East during the Abbasid dynasty, 3. Western Europe during the Middle Ages, or 4. India during the Mughal Empire? Numbers 13 and 14 are based on this short passage here. It says, Statement A, Sunnis and Shiites have different views about who should lead the Muslim faith. B, some Hindus follow caste rules more closely than others. Statement C, most Buddhists belong to one of 2 main sects. Statement D, Christianity is practiced by both Roman Catholics and members of the Eastern Orthodox Church. So 13 asks, which generalization is supported by the information in these 4 statements? 1. In many religions, a range of beliefs often exists. 2. A belief in God is common to all religions. 3. A hierarchy of leadership exists in all religions. 4. Religion is becoming less important to people. Number 14. Which of the statements above states one reason for conflict within the Islamic community? So which one is dealing with the Islamic community? Statement A, B, C, or D? Questions 15 and 16 are based on this passage below. It says, wherever they went, the Muslims brought with them their love of art, beauty, and learning. From about the 8th to the 11th century, their culture was superior in many ways to that of Western Christendom. Some of the finest centers of Muslim life were established in Spain. In Cordova, the streets were solidly paved, while at the same time in Paris, people waddled ankle-deep in mud after a rain. Cordovan public lamps lighted roads for as far as 10 miles. Yet 700 years later, there was not a single public lamp in London. Some Spanish Muslims had homes with marble balconies and courts with lovely waterfalls. Bedrooms were vaulted and stained glass was speckled with gold. And metal pipes carried water into marble baths. Nearly every mosque had a public school in which the children of the poor were taught. Many Muslim libraries were excellent. The catalogue of one caliph's library filled 40 volumes. In addition, the followers of Muhammad achieved much in science, particularly in chemistry, astronomy, mathematics, and medicine. So 15, identify Daniel Roselle's point of view from the choices below. What was his point of view? 1. Paris was the center of learning in Europe in the 10th century CE. 2. London was predominantly a Muslim city and a trade center in the 9th century CE. 3. Islamic rule in Spain led to a golden age from the 700s through the 1000 CE. 4. Quality of life in Cordova decreased or got worse because of Muslim rule. And number 16, identify a claim supported by the passage above and your knowledge of social studies. 1. Cultural diffusion occurred more often in Christian civilizations than in Muslim ones. 2. Golden ages are marked by economic prosperity and scientific and cultural achievements. 3. The Silk Roads were integral to the rise of Muslim control in Cordova, Spain. Or 4. Predominantly Christian cities were more advanced than Muslim cities in medieval Europe. What can be defended by this claim? All right, you're going to base questions 17 and 18 on this passage below. It's from Genghis Khan, His Life and Legacy. And it says, as early as the struggle for the steppe, he had spread the claim that heaven had destined him as a ruler. Members of Mongol trading caravans spread stories intended to cause panic among the local populace, forged letters that were fed to Sultan Muhammad, which strengthened Forged letters were fed to Sultan Muhammad, which strengthened his mistrust of his Turkic units. Freedom of religion was proclaimed, and those who offered no resistance were promised that life and property would be spared. Terrible destruction was threatened in the event of resistance. Bloody examples were designed to spread fear and reduce the populace's will to resist. So number 17. On which continent did the events described in this passage take place? 1. Europe. 2. North America. 3. Africa. 4. Asia. And number 18. Identify an effect of the Mongol tactics described in the passage. 1. Mongol armies conquered most of Asia. 2. Merchants spread the Mongol religion throughout Asia and Africa. 3. Mongol navies controlled trading routes in the Indian Ocean. Or 4. Mongol armies were defeated by other nomadic tribes. Questions 19 and 20 are based on this passage. It's from Aman Malouf's The Crusades Through Arab Eyes. It says the basic idea of this book is simple: to tell the story of the Crusades as they were seen, lived, and recorded on the other side. In other words, in the Arab camp. Its content is based almost exclusively on the testimony of contemporary Arab historians and chroniclers. So 19 says this passage indicates that the author's emphasis is on what? 1. Cause and effect. 2. Chronological order. 3. Reenactment. Or 4. Point of view. Number 20. What was one direct result of the Crusades? 1. Trade increased between Europe and the Middle East. 2. Islamic kingdoms expanded into Europe. 3. Arabs and Christians divided the city of Jerusalem between them. 4. Alexander the Great became a powerful leader in Eurasia. And 21 through 23 are based on this passage. It's an excerpt of a letter sent by Emperor Alexius Comnenus to the Byzantine Empire of the Byzantine Empire to Pope Urban II in 1093. He said, "Come then with all your people and give battle with all your strength, so that this treasure should not fall into the hand of the Turks. Therefore act while there is still time, lest the kingdom of the Christians shall vanish from your sight. And in your coming you will find your reward in heaven." So which event is referred to in this quotation? 1. The Enlightenment. 2. The French Revolution. 3. The Glorious Revolution. Or 4. The Crusades. Number 22. Identify one reason why Emperor Alexius Comnenus sent this letter to Pope Urban II in 1093. 1. The Mongols threatened the Byzantine Empire, so the emperor asked the Pope for weapons. 2. The emperor feared that Muslim Turks were going to attack Constantinople, so he requested help from the Pope. 3. The Byzantine Empire was rapidly expanding, and the emperor wanted to warn the Pope. 4. The emperor led the Turks into battle, defeated the Muslims, and asked the Pope if he wanted some of the treasure. Why did the emperor send this letter to the Pope? Number 23. Identify one effect of the events that resulted from the response to this letter. 1. Distrust grew between Muslim-ruled regions of the Middle East and Christian governments in Europe. 2. Mongol empires conquered Western Europe. 3. Christians and Muslims formed an alliance and ruled the Mediterranean world in peace. 4. The Turkish Empire conquered Europe. And then questions 24 and 25 are based on this map. So it says spread of the Black Death, and you see the progress of the Black Death seems to be kind of in this area in Asia, okay? And it's spreading over to Europe and to many different places. And then it also has a dotted line that shows the trade routes. and then cities known for major outbreaks. So there's a lot of cities, especially in Europe, that are known for that major outbreak. So number 24. The information shown on this map suggests that the Black Death spread to Europe as a result of contact with who? 1. Merchants from Western Africa. 2. Traders from Asia. 3. Barbarians from Scandinavia. Or 4. Explorers returning from the Americas. And number 25. Based on this map, what is a valid conclusion about the Black Death? What can you kind of figure out about the Black Death based on this map? 1. Japan was the first place that it occurred. 2. The highest casualty rates occurred in Mogadishu and Fuzhou. 3. People of North Africa, Europe, and Asia were affected by this disease. Or 4. The outbreak spread primarily from the west to the east. So just looking at this map, what is something you can conclude, you can figure out?